go ahead and get started. My name is Jackie Dzelski. I'm the president and CEO here at the Manatee Chamber, and welcome to our July headliners featuring great news from the president and CEO of SRQ, Rick Piccolo. And I feel like I'm watching a tennis match. It is Wimbledon time right now, but you know, this luncheon was sold out with a very large waiting list, so we did have to pivot, and the team at Peridia here has been wonderful to use two sides of the room. Our original intention was one side of the room, but we didn't want to turn any more people away than we had to for these great guest speaker opportunities that we have every month with our headliners luncheons. So, now that I have your attention and have you all quieted down, if you could please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. You may be seated, and as you're getting settled back in and enjoying your salads, if you could please silence your mobile devices, we would greatly appreciate that. As we get underway, I have a couple of thanks and recognitions to share with you. First, I want to thank all the elected officials who joined us to hear this great news about the incredible economic driver that SRQ is in our community. From the Manatee County Commission, we have Commissioner George Cruz with us today. Thank you so much, Commissioner. From the city of Bradenton, we have Councilwoman Pam Coachman, Councilwoman Lisa Gonzalez-Moore, and Councilman Josh Kramer. Thank you as well to our city of Bradenton officials. We are so appreciative of your partnership with the Chamber, and both of these governmental entities are platinum-level investors with our Chamber. Next, I'd like to recognize the organizations that commit to an annual sponsorship with the Chamber to support this event every single month. Our headliner sponsors, we would love to add to this list if anybody is interested in this as part of your marketing and support plan for the Chamber. But please allow me to share gratitude with Florida Power and Light, Manatee Memorial Hospital, the Mosaic Company, and the Realtors Association of Sarasota Manatee. If you could please show your appreciation for these sponsors. And then finally, I would like to recognize our platinum investors. They're here in a banner up front and on the screen as well. Brown & Sons Funeral Homes and Crematory, Carr, Riggs & Ingram, the City of Bradenton, IMG Academy, Manatee County Government, Manatee Memorial Hospital, MCR Health and All Care Options, the Mosaic Company, NDC Commercial Real Estate, NDC Construction Company, the Pittsburgh Pirates and Bradenton Marauders, Raymond James Wealth Management, Bruce Body, the Sarasota Bradenton International Airport, Seaport Manatee, and South State Bank. So please, one more round of applause. And then you can save the rest of your applause for after lunch and all of the great news that Rick will be sharing with us. So just a little bit of a preview here before we take a break for the team to support the team at Peridia to serve your main meal. If you've taken a look at the media releases on SRQ's website, and I understand Rick was telling me they released another one today that I didn't see. I was looking over the list again yesterday. Their numbers are astounding. You've seen the headlines, you've seen the media coverage. I know we have a number of leaders from our hospitality and tourism industry with us here today. They truly are astounding. SRQ has seen, I believe it's about a 15% increase in passengers for the calendar year to date over just the first 5 months, and my understanding is the June numbers are what were released today, so Rick will give you even more up-to-date information than I am. But keep in mind that double-digit increase in passengership of this year versus last year is over last year setting new records, and so really that number is one of those exponential numbers that he'll share with us. I believe we now have 54 nonstop destinations to and from SRQ, which is phenomenal for those of us that travel both business and leisure. They celebrated a groundbreaking for an exciting new aviation mechanics program with a number of partners in the room with that, and are underway with a more than $70 million terminal expansion to add 5 gates and 4 lanes of security screening. So all of this and more is on the plate for SRQ, and now we're going to see what's on our plate as we take a break and let the team here at Pretium serve our lunch. We'll be back up in just a few minutes to officially welcome Rick Piccolo to the podium. So please enjoy your lunch. Thank you so much. We are going to get underway. Please continue to enjoy your lunch, but we want to save plenty of time for Rick's comments and then Q&A as well. And a little note about Q&A is we will have the famous Carrie Miller on our chamber team, who will rove around the audience when it's time for Q&A. And if you have a question for Rick that is on your mind, she will bring a microphone to you during that time so that your question can be heard through the sound system and Rick can respond. So I now have the distinct honor of introducing Rick Piccolo, President and CEO of the Sarasota-Bradenton International Airport. While some of you may have heard Rick in the past, I'm still going to cover a few bio items, and I think a couple of them are just fun. So first off is more than 50 years of experience in the aviation industry, and Rick has been with SRQ since 1995. His very first airport job was serving as a janitor at the Buffalo International Airport. After earning his BS degree in Business Administration from the State University of New York at Buffalo, Rick has held several airport positions, including building supervisor, property manager, assistant to the airport manager, and assistant director of operations. More in our region, Rick worked in the operations department at Tampa International Airport prior to his position at SRQ. He was also the assistant airport director at St. Pete Clearwater International Airport. Rick is no stranger to effective and influential leadership in our community. He sits on currently and has sat on boards across the two-county region, including the University of South Florida, Manatee Chamber of Commerce, Bradenton Area EDC, amongst many others. He is a past president of the Florida Airports Council and achieved an executive accreditation with the American Association of Airport Executives, which is the largest professional airport managers association in the world. He's also served as chairman on the board of directors for the Airports Council International, which unites all airports in the world under a single organization. The Florida Department of Transportation selected Rick as the 2005 Aviation Professional of the Year. And in October 2009, Airport Revenue News announced Rick was the winner of the Small Airport CEO of the Year for 2009, and that is voted on and selected by aviation industry professionals from across the globe. So, Rick, without further ado, thank you so much for your time with us, and the floor is yours.
Well, thank you for that kind introduction. It's great to be here. I always like speaking to the chamber and spreading the gospel according to SRQ. I do always like to start out with a story about one of our users, and this has to do with a couple from up north, Minneapolis, a rather cold place. And they had gotten married down in the Sarasota-Bradenton area about 25 years prior, and they decided they were going to celebrate their anniversary right back here. However, they both worked, so the husband was coming down on a Thursday and the wife on a Friday. Husband came down, got into the hotel. There was a computer in there, so he decided to send an email off to his wife, but he didn't pay attention to what he was doing. He left a character out of the email and hit send, and it ended up in the inbox of a widow returning from her husband's funeral in Houston. She came back with her son. She went into the office of her home to check emails for condolences. The son heard her scream, came running into the office. She was passed out on the floor. And this is what the screen said. To my loving wife. Subject, I've arrived. I know you're surprised to hear from me. They have computers here now, and you can send emails to your loved ones. I've just arrived and been checked in. I see everything has been prepared for your arrival tomorrow. Looking forward to seeing you here. Hope your journey was as uneventful as mine was. P.S. Sure is frickin' hot down here. All right. So now that we've got you relaxed, let's talk about the airport. I'm going to cover finances, I'll cover operations, I'll cover construction, I'll cover air service, and then I'll be happy to answer any question you may have about the airport. First of all, what is the Sarasota-Manatee Airport Authority? It's actually an independent special district. It was created by the state legislature. It's kind of a quasi-governmental corporation. It's the closest thing to private industry that you'll find in government. Even the enterprise fund departments that the county has, like water, charges you a fee for the water you use. They don't charge you an ad valorem tax. But we don't have any taxing power, and the water department doesn't have any competition. In the morning, you don't have 5 faucets there, and you say, you know what, the water from Tampa is cheaper. I think I'll use the water from Tampa to take a shower with. Or the water from St. Petersburg tastes better. I think I'll use that water to drink. But in the case of the airport, you have a lot of choices as a consumer. You can fly out of SRQ, you can fly out of St. Pete and Tampa to the north of us, Punta Gorda and Fort Myers to the south of us, and even Orlando to the east of us. And if you drive by our doorstep, we have no way to reach into your pocket and say we're an important asset here in the community and we should get some revenue from you. So therefore, we have to compete in the private marketplace, and I think that is the distinct difference with the Airport Authority. Our board members are appointed by the governor. They can serve a maximum of 2 consecutive 4-year terms, 3 from Manatee County, 3 from Sarasota County. They're all business people in the community. Actually, in the law that was passed by referendum back in the early 2000s, if you are an elected official and you want to be on the Airport Authority Board, you have to resign your office as an elected official. We do not allow elected officials on the Airport Authority Board. So they understand the entrepreneurial nature of the airport, and they're very, very astute business people in the community. Now, the airport's kind of like a mini city. We have our own police department, our own fire department, all the public works out there, everything from the grass cutting to the electrical, HVAC, IT, all the administrative functions, whether it's human resources, accounting, all those things are done in-house. We have a little over 200 employees right now. We've added over 100 employees in the last couple of years. Now, as I said, we have no taxing power. Our authority finances are based on our business operation. I always like to joke that we're kind of like the mob. We get a piece of the action of everything that happens out there. When you rent a car, we get 10% of the gross. If you buy a drink, if you buy a T-shirt, we get a percentage of that as well. We also charge the airlines landing fees and space rental. We have a number of operations out there, hotels, Rips Golf is on our land, Poston's Antiques is on our land, Sun State Trucking is on our land. So we drive revenue from all of those. We have a budget of about $45 million, so we have to make $45 million a year just to meet budget. We have about $56 million in the bank right now. Now, the Airport Authority has just seen an economic impact study come out from the Florida Department of Transportation. It covered all 20 commercial air service airports in Florida. It was just released about 6 months ago. And that report revealed that little old SRQ has a $3.2 billion annual economic impact on the community, with over 23,000 jobs in the community derived from our activities. So there you have over $3.2 billion worth of annual value from the airport, and it cost you $0 as a taxpayer. And I think that's something that can't be said by any other government agency that you'll find in the United States. One of the things I think is important to note as well is that our financials, as I said, we have $56 million in the bank. We're totally debt-free. We have over $250 million worth of assets. We're one of the few debt-free airports in the country. I've worked at a number of airports. Tampa's a wonderful airport, beautiful airport, but they have $1.7 billion on their books of debt. So that makes it a little different than what we have here. We are totally self-sufficient. We have 6 airlines that sign what are called signatory agreements. That includes Delta, American, JetBlue, United, Southwest, and Allegiant. Those agreements go through 2024. We're presently in discussions with all our carriers and looking at somewhere a 7 to 10-year extension of that agreement. So our air service is very secure for the future. Now, we've seen a lot of growth. This was our air service map in 2018. 6 airlines, 12 nonstop destinations. You could get anywhere in the country with just one stop because most of these destinations were major hubs for our carriers. You could get to Europe most of the time with one stop. Asia probably took 2 stops. So we did have air service that gets you pretty much anywhere in the world, but obviously there weren't a lot of choices there. This is our map today, 11 airlines, 55 nonstop destinations. Actually, it's 56 as we announced Providence just this past week. And so as you can see, we keep moving further west, covering a lot more destinations and certainly a lot more pricing choices with 11 airlines, including a number of ultra low-cost carriers like Allegiant, Sun Country, Breeze, Avelo, and Frontier. Now, we've seen a lot of passenger growth, and I think the interesting thing about this slide is when you look at those years of 2017, 16, and 15, you actually could have gone back about 10 years and seen that line stay pretty flat, up a little bit, down a little bit, up a little bit, down a little bit. And then you see in 2018, it starts to go up, and we're almost hit 2 million passengers. And that was after Allegiant came. Allegiant started with about 8 cities and now is up to 29. Then it went back down in the COVID year to about the same level as we used to have when we were running along normally, about 1.3 million. Now that might sound like it was bad, but we were only down about 33%. Most airports in the United States and in the world were down anywhere from 55 to 95%. And there are many airports that still haven't got back to their pre-COVID levels. Then you can see in 2020, after COVID, 2021, Southwest enters the market. Our numbers jumped to almost 3.2 million. Then last year we closed out at just under 4 million, and we expect somewhere in the 4.4 to 4.5 million passengers this year. As we said, we just released our figures for June. We were up 7.2% over last June. We're up 14% for the year. We've done just about 2.4 million passengers in the first 6 months of this year. And this map is kind of a good illustration of how airports are still struggling. When you look at all the numbers that are in red or yellow, that shows airports in this country that still have not reached their pre-COVID levels. When you see the stuff in green, it means they're exceeding their pre-COVID levels, and there's not many of them. But when you see the one in the dark green, it's right where the Sarasota-Bradenton Airport is, and shows that we have over 200% increase. We actually are up 300% over our pre-COVID levels. There's no other airport that I've ever heard of that has come close to that in the 50 years I've been in this business. It is just unreal to watch how fast our community and how fast the airport has grown. Now, that presents certain problems for us. As I was talking earlier with Jackie, we're infrastructure, and it's tough to keep up with things with that kind of rapid growth. And the only example I can give is if the vehicle traffic in this community, I know some might think this is true, if the vehicle traffic in this community grew 300% in 3 years, I don't care how much money the government gives you to build roads, you couldn't build them fast enough. And we face some of the same issues as an airport. We're a piece of infrastructure. We can't just ramp up production of widgets and make things happen. We completed a few projects very early in the game as we were growing, one of the biggest ones being at that time our fuel capacity. We had about 90,000 gallons of fuel capacity, and in the early years of our growth with Allegiant and Southwest, there were days where we were actually running out of fuel. And we had to tell airlines to tanker the fuel in, which basically means they have to put enough fuel on the plane to get here and get back to where they're going next, with enough safety margin as well. And that adds cost to that flight because the plane is much heavier, therefore it burns more fuel. So we quickly added 300,000 gallons of fuel. We now can go 3 days without a delivery and still meet all our airline needs. So that was a very important facet of one of the first projects we had to do. We added more parking. In the long-term lot, you'll see on this slide right at the very bottom, you'll see it's a little darker. We added about 140 spaces there, and then we paved the area next to the shade lot to add a couple hundred spaces there. So we have a little over 2,100 parking spaces now. Unfortunately, we need to park over the holidays about 4,500 cars a day. So we're parking them everywhere. We're building parking lots now. There's a new one. You'll see a bunch of parking projects on some of the slides so that we can get to a point where we can handle all the traffic that we have. We increased our security screening checkpoint, first from 4 lanes to 5 and now to 6. I'm very proud to say that our screening checkpoint over the Thanksgiving holiday, the longest wait was 11 minutes, and I don't think there's an airport in the country that can match that. One of the things we have is we have a private contractor. There's a program that TSA has that has approved contractors where you can privatize your workforce for your security screening checkpoint. We're one of the few in the country that have it, and I think it's worked wonderfully. Better customer service, better management of it, and we're very proud of how that works. Now, there's a number of ongoing construction projects, and I think this slide is one that will give you a little bit of a perspective on the parking issue. As you can see, right in the long-term lot and in the green off to the right of the terminal, those were those two projects that I previously mentioned where we expanded a small bit. The stuff that's in the pink, the yellow, and the green at the bottom, yellow along US 41, all those yellows are new parking, as well as the new green one at the bottom. Those all should be done by November. That will add about 1,400 parking spaces. The yellow that you see at the bottom right here is a new cell phone lot. That should open in just a couple weeks. I will say that it'll have restrooms, it'll have vending machines, it'll have security fencing and lighting. It will not have display boards yet because that's a supply chain problem. That's probably a few months away, but we will be opening that anyway so that you can utilize the new cell phone lot. And then that area that you see where the old cell phone lot is, which is yellow and the pink, that will be converted into what we call a quick turnaround facility for car rental, where they'll service all our car rental companies will be consolidated. They can service the vehicles there, they can fuel the vehicles there, they can store vehicles there, and that will free up all that space that right now they use to park all their vehicles individually for each company. We're going through a rezoning process with the city of Sarasota to change that, and then our eventual action is to build office, retail, hotel, restaurant facilities, and all those spaces in there. And again, we get a piece of the action. So we're looking forward to that. We're building a new ground transportation center. It's about a $10 million project. It's right at the end of baggage claim. It'll have covering over all those areas so that you stay out of the sun, out of the rain when you're waiting for your bus or you're waiting for your Uber or Lyft or your taxi or your shuttle. And that project should take about a year. It also will have a lounge there for the drivers so that they can get out of the heat. They'll have vending and restroom facilities as well. And as I said, that is about a $10 million project going on. And this is that space that will be the quick turnaround facility. There are three major operators of cars, car rentals, even though you see a number of different brands. Avis owns a number of those brands. Hertz owns a number of those brands, as does Enterprise. This is a rendering of the new cell phone lot. It'll have 152 spaces, as I said, and a restroom and vending machines. We're expanding our west ramp as well so we can park more aircraft. As we grow, what's happening is more aircraft are doing what we call RON, remain overnight. So they'll come in at the end of the night. They'll park on that west ramp or park on the east ramp remotely because their gates will be full. The first planes that go out early in the morning, they just pull the next one in and allows them to get a lot more use out of their aircraft. This is another $10 million project. We're also expanding our employee parking lot because we have a lot more employees. As I said, we have 23,000 jobs that are from the airport. We have over 2,500 jobs on the airport itself. This is the ramp for the new terminal. That should be done in just a few more months, hopefully, and that will be the ramp area for the new 5-gate ground boarding terminal. We're also building a new observation area along with Manatee County along Old 15th Street. For those that are familiar with that little area of curve where people park on the grass and all that, it's going to be paved. It's going to have a covered area so people can sit there. It's going to have some historical pictures. They'll have a little playground, which Allegiant has agreed to sponsor. And it'll also have a speaker system there so you can hear the tower transmissions while you watch the planes take off. See, I get nice on that every time. It's the cheapest project we're doing, and it's the most beloved. This is a new baggage system. For those that are familiar with the airport, right now we have area A, B, and C. They're not interconnected. And we actually have about 20 people on the payroll whose whole job is to stand around the baggage belts and wait for something to break. And then they have to move the bags by hand. So this is a $50 million project. It should be done in about a year and a half. And it will link all our baggage systems together, and all 3 machines that will be new will be at one end. You can see at the far end, so that if a machine breaks down, it automatically diverts the bags into another machine, and we don't have to have 20 people standing around waiting to see if something breaks. So that's a very big project, a $50 million project that's going on right now. This will be the new ground-based terminal. And to give you a perspective where that very high atrium is, that's about where the end of the existing ticket wing is now. So what you'll have is you'll have a security checkpoint there with 4 security lanes. That atrium area will be all the concessions, the food and beverage, retail, coffee shop, that type of thing. And then there'll be 5 ground boarding gates. Now people ask, why are you doing ground boarding gates? It was for a couple of reasons. First of all, it saves us about $30 million in expense, because we don't have to go 2 levels and more structural steel, that type of thing. But more importantly, we're hopeful that it will be completed by December of '24. It cuts about a year off the construction time. And when you're growing at 300%, time is our enemy, and time is the thing we're trying to make up. So this was the quickest way to get some facilities in place that can serve your needs and our passenger needs. I'm very pleased to say that Allegiant has signed a memorandum of agreement to take all 5 gates, which means that you're going to see more traffic, because Allegiant presently has 3 gates. They're going to give up those 3 gates. But if they're going to increase their gate usage by 40%, you can imagine what they're going to do with the amount of flights that will be in there. I would not be surprised that by the time Allegiant goes full bore with this, which will take about a year after it's open, that we will have somewhere in the range of 45 to 60 cities out of Allegiant, very similar to what they do in St. Pete and in Punta Gorda right now. Remember, they're building an $800 million Sunseeker resort down in Punta Gorda that's due to open this fall, and they're going to want to try and pump passengers into that resort. So we're very excited about that. The 3 gates that we get back from Allegiant in Terminal B, the existing terminal, will very quickly be scarfed up by our other carriers who are looking for more space as well. So we really are in a race to get things done as quickly as possible. This gives you a look at the atrium from the outside and serves a very big purpose now and for the future, which I'll show you in just a moment. This would be the entrance to the security checkpoint and the exit from the security checkpoint. This is that atrium area, very high ceilings. I think it's going to be around 30 feet, and entrance to the ground boarding areas. This will be the ground boarding gate areas where you utilize the gates and walk out to the aircraft. We'll have ADA ramps that pull up to the aircraft, so there's no problems there. We're also looking at kind of an accordion type of coverage of canvas so that we can pull it out when it's raining and cover people till they get to the aircraft as well. But in the sun, you'll get to walk out in the sun. And now hopefully I get this to work. There you go. This will give you a little bit of animation of what it would be like if you pull up to the terminal and you're going to go through the new ground boarding terminal. So you'll enter the terminal, go through security, and as you can see, you fly through security. Coffee shop off to your right, bar and restaurant areas and retail will be off to your left. And then you will go to the ground boarding area. In the gate area, you walk out onto the ramp. You'll board the aircraft, and that's your view from the other side. Now, as I said, we've already got people that are lined up for those gates, so the question becomes, what happens in the future? And what you see there in the dark area that's connecting this area here, that is 4 second-level gates that will have jet bridges. That will be phase 2 of Terminal A. And one of the things that will happen then is the security checkpoint that has 4 security lanes down at the ground boarding facility now will be moved to the center area so that we have 11 lanes there, and everyone will enter through there. If you're using Terminal A, you'll make a right turn. Terminal B, you'll go straight. And the same thing for when you deplane. Right now, one of the issues that we will have is when you deplane, you're going to have to, if you're in the ground boarding facility, you're going to have to walk through ticketing to get to baggage claim. Eventually, that'll be cured through this, and everything will be interconnected. We estimate that project is going to be somewhere in the $150 to $200 million range, and that will be the day that this airport is no longer debt-free. But it will be something that we can accomplish. That'll depend on what our level of demand is. We think with the new terminal and what we're doing now, we can handle about 7 million passengers before we would need to do that addition. But that might not be that far away. We're already doing the environmental impact study on that. That'll take a year. So that should that trigger need to be pulled quickly, we can go ahead and pull the trigger and start the design and then go to construction. That is the center atrium area, which will mirror very much the ground boarding terminal, and that will again be concessions in those areas in there that we can expand some more. And this is that same wall in the ground boarding area that I talked about. The reason for that very tall wall is that eventually when we hook the two areas together, your escalators, stairways, and elevators will be right in that area there. We're also building a new GA customs facility. For those that don't know, we actually have a customs facility at the airport that can handle a wide-body jet. There's over a 15,000 square foot facility on the first level under gate B8 that can handle wide-body jets. And we used to in the old days, before we had all this traffic, all those GA customs flights, of which we handle about 650 a year, would park at gate B8, and the customs officer would come out and clear the flight and the passengers. But we can't spare gate B8 for a twin-engine Piper. We need that gate all the time for our commercial carriers. So we're going to build a remote customs facility at a cost of about $5 million. And this gives you an overview of what we call the North Quad area. It's an area on the northern portion of the airport that we spent about $15 million in the last 5 years to develop. We put in roadways, sewer, water, electrical, and now what will happen is that will develop into more industrial type aviation. We have a new FBO, a third FBO, Sheltair, that's going through the permitting process right now with Manatee County. It's a $40 million private investment, so we'll have 3 fixed base operators, Dolphin, Atlantic Aviation, and Sheltair. There's also a couple hangars being built there by private enterprise for their own aircraft, and we're in a lot of discussions with other major repair stations and manufacturers about building facilities out there as well to do airplane manufacturing and repair. So all those will bring high-paying, good jobs to the community, good economic development, and we get a piece of the action. The other thing we're very proud of is our educational efforts. First of all, Manatee Technical College just broke ground last month on the new A&P school, or Airframe and Power Plant School. That school will allow students who graduate from high school to spend 18 to 24 months in school, go out, get a job as a licensed aircraft mechanic. Average starting salary is about $65,000 a year. The Boeing estimates there'll be a need for 630,000 of these technicians over the next 2 decades. So we're providing a worldwide opportunity for our children and our grandchildren. In addition, the University of South Florida is working with us on having aeronautical engineering. They're also going to do some soft skills courses in this as well. And then finally, Team Success Charter School is waiting for their final approval. They built a campus over across the street on airport land, K through 12, 83% minority, 96% economically disadvantaged children. So we'll be the only airport in the country that can take kids from kindergarten through 12th grade, through technical school, and hopefully through university, never leave airport land. We're very, very proud of that effort. So finally, this slide shows you all those things in purple are all the projects that we're doing. The area you see in the red up in the top right corner is 76 acres of land that we owned up right near the transportation facility that Manatee County has. We're starting our development efforts on that. And again, so that we can bring more jobs, more industry to the area, and of course, we get a piece of the action. So with that, I thank you for the opportunity to speak to you and happy to answer any questions.
Stand up. I've been given very specific instructions.
Hi, Rick.
So quick question, with all of the construction and everything you guys have going on, do you anticipate any loss in business as this is all happening?
No, in fact, as I've said, our business continues to grow. One of the things I'm very proud of is the work of our people. I've worked at 4 airports, all great workforces, the best workforce I've ever seen. We continue to grow, and one of the things that has surprised me over the time is that when I do these speeches, and I do about 50 or more a year, most of the time what I hear from people is it's so easy to use your airport. Now for us, as the workers there, we're going, oh, this is inconvenient. We're not used to having these sort of crowds, and that person had to wait an extra 2 minutes. Yet when users use it, they're very complimentary of how easy it is to still use the airport and how clean it is. One of the things we take a lot of pride in is the cleanliness. We brought on our own workforce of janitorial crews for nighttime about a year ago now, and we doubled our allocation for contract janitorial so that they could pay the people well and so that we could have enough there. We want to keep the place nice and clean, nice and easy to use. And once we finish the projects, it'll certainly be easier. But we're very proud of the work we do. Even the remote parking. We added 8 shuttles in the last year, and we try to have, when we have to go and flip to remote parking, we try to have 3, 4, or 5 shuttles operating so that people, as they get out of their cars, are almost being picked up like it was a concierge service.
Next.
Thanks, Rick, for your time. Brian Watt from 1634 Company. Quick question about your relationship with the derelict railroad on the east side of the airport. What is your relationship there, and how does that figure into your expansion plans?
I'm not sure the derelict what? Railroad. Oh, the railroad. Well, the railroad still functions as far as I know. We don't have a relationship with them. They still go back and forth, and I haven't known of any issues there. There was at one time, if it ever becomes light rail, there is a concept that there'd be a light rail station that could divert into the airport so that people could utilize that. But I don't have any issues with the railroad.
Stand up, please. Oh, no.
Hi, Kevin McNulty from NetWeave Social Networking. How many flights, what capacity is 1432 at? And is there any plans for a second runway of that length?
Well, there's no plans for a second runway because there's just no room. So it is what it is. But we have plenty of capacity. Last year, we did about 153,000 operations on that runway. In 1992, there was 192,000 operations on that runway, and that wasn't capacity. So there's plenty of runway capacity for operating. I think the thing that we're seeing change is the mix of aircraft. And I gave a speech the other night and had some GA users asking me about that, because what I see happening in the future is that the smaller aircraft will be pushed out of the airport because they can't slot them in and mix them with the commercial, the speeds. And so we're getting GA users that are complaining that, look, I'm being held up in the air for 30 minutes trying to land because of the commercial traffic, and they can't slot me in. So I think eventually, as a normal type of evolution, we'll see a change in our mix more and more. But I don't think it'll affect that. But to build another runway would take billions of dollars, probably take the lives of 40 or 50 lawyers. And so it just isn't possible. And if you go back to the 1980s, there actually was a referendum as to whether to move the airport east of I-75, and that failed by about a 2-to-1 margin. What is today Lakewood Ranch would have been the new SRQ. And so if you're going to build another airport east, it's probably going to have to be in DeSoto County, would be my guess.
Okay, next.
Hi, Taha Sadiq, United States Air Force. One of the things that I enjoy doing when I'm traveling quite a bit throughout the country is when I go to an airport, I love seeing local restaurants, coffee shops, businesses that are a part of the airport. And then there's signs to say, hey, by the way, go check us out in downtown. With future expansion, you mentioned coffee shops. Will there be a plan to be able to incorporate Sarasota, Bradenton, restaurants as part of the expansion for businesses?
Actually, we're in our agreements expire soon. We're in an RFP process right now for new concessionaires, and I'll wait to see what they bring forward. It would be nice to have some local content. At the same time, we'll make a business decision based on a lot of the financials. And finally, I would say one of the things that people ask me, well, why can't you have this type of restaurant or that type of restaurant? You have to focus on what we are as an airport. We are an O&D airport, origination destination airport. Think about one of the things that happens is because we're kind of convenient, you can get through quickly. People don't show up 3 hours ahead of their flight. They show up 90 minutes now. They used to show up 30 minutes sometimes. But that means their dwell time, if you take them showing up 90 minutes before the flight, say it takes them 30 minutes to park their car, check in at the ticket counter, go through security, and get down to their gate, the plane boards about 30 minutes before departure. That means they only have 30 minutes of dwell time. They're not there to eat a big meal and sit down and have a sit-down dinner or sit-down lunch. So a lot of those concessions are kind of grab and go. The same with the retail. They're not going to be there shopping for Louis Vuitton. It's not that type of airport. We're not a hub airport where people have a lot of connecting time, where they might have a 3 or 4 or 5 hour, or international where you might sit 6 or 7, where they're looking for stuff to do and places to go to have a nice dinner. So concessionaires have to focus on how they can make money and make that work, because it is one where they have very short dwell times. And so those are one of the things that prevents us from having, I don't know, a Chili's or something that would have a lot of sit-down times. Not to say you can't have one of them, but it's a lot harder because of the dwell times.
That's it.
Well, you were easy. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And, updated numbers, even as much as we at the Chamber keep up with SRQ and the tremendous economic impact and growth, still always learn so much, Rick, when you're willing and able to spend time with us. So thank you so much. Just 2 announcements, in addition to thanking once again our headliner sponsors that you'll see on the screen. Next up, 2 things for your calendar. We have a very special Coffee Club networking event coming up in July. You all as Chamber members, you and anyone on your team can come to Coffee Club and don't even necessarily need to RSVP, although we appreciate it for planning for logistics. But on July 27th, our Coffee Club, our monthly networking event in the morning, will be at Kaiser University, and it will feature a very special showcase of nonprofits from the greater Manatee County region. So I believe we have more than 30 nonprofits that will be on hand during that Coffee Club. So please make plans to come. You'll learn more about the important mission and services that they provide in our community. I'm sure there will be plenty of opportunities to talk about the volunteer and leadership opportunities that are critical to every nonprofit in our region as well. So that's July 27th. And then our next monthly headliners lunch will feature our new superintendent of Manatee County Schools, Dr. Jason Wysong. I was lucky enough to spend about 4 hours with Dr. Wysong and his wife when they were in town for final interviews. And I'm just thrilled about the leadership that he will bring to our school district, but as important as his leadership is the partnership of businesses and our community as a whole in determining the success of our school district. So come on August, I believe it's 16th, our next headliners lunch will feature our new superintendent. I have no doubt that too will sell out with a waiting list. We'll have a bigger room if we need to, but make your reservations early for that as well. Can we also show our appreciation one more time for the great staff here at Peridia who are working with us on this event? I hope you all have a great end to the summer. Don't be a stranger, and we'll see you at the next Chamber event. Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon.